So, good afternoon or evening, wherever you are in your time zone, but we're all together on this awesome call today. And we've got some exciting information coming out from our company, Avini Health, and which means winning. Amazing, that we are in a company where we just have a future ahead of us, guys, that I'm so excited about. I can't quite put it into words today, but welcome to the call. I'm Robben in California. We have a lot of wonderful family members, Avini family members and team members, and incredible people on this call. We've got some great information to share with you. We are missing some of our leaders that are usually here. Chip and Marcy Littlejohn are down at corporate, which is just Rick's Labs. Don't really have a huge building they have to pay for, which is very exciting. Also, Dave Johnson is there, and Darren is there, although we've got Georgia with us, so she's going to share today again. We've got some very fun things going on, but I would just like to welcome you and just let you know that we have a company that we'd like to invite you to be part of. If you're brand new, thank you for taking your time. We know your time will be well spent as you get through here with the information. You'll be astonished at what you hear, I believe. And we have all natural products that help the body heal itself. And we were made miraculously. God created our bodies to heal themselves if we get the right help. And this is what we have our hands on, is natural products that help the body do its own science and mechanisms in ways that we aren't able to do without these products. So with that, what I would like to do, Rosemary, if you're available now, if you're okay, I'd like you to kind of open up the call with some science today. And you know, if you'd like to kind of take Chip's place a little bit and go through some of the products, not putting you on the spot, whatever you want to choose, talk about that. But you said something the other day, when we were doing a connection call with one of your new people, just some things that I was impressed with that I think everybody should hear. So this is Rosemary in Oregon, and she's one of our main leaders, and I'd like to have her come on. Tell your background, Rosemary. Some people do not know the things that you're involved in, please.
Hi, Robin. Thank you. I am Rosemary Levesque. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and my background is science. I was a biology teacher for many years. I taught in New Hampshire, in South Korea, and in a few places in Europe, as well as here in Oregon. And when I stopped teaching biology, I became a mother. And it was interesting what I saw happening with my children, because I don't know if you know, but living in Asia has challenges. I remember when we lived in an apartment in South Korea, we would walk to church on Sundays because we didn't have a driver on those days. And by the time we walked to church, it was about a 20-minute walk, walked there, walked back. My skin was covered in black. My clothes were covered in black. Now, what was going on in my lungs? I don't know, but you can imagine living in a highly toxic place, having a highly toxic occupation. Because if you remember back to your school days, biology, there are chemicals involved, stains for slides, formaldehyde for specimens. Chemistry is part of the training to be a biologist. So I was in chemistry labs, organic chem, inorganic chem, lots of chemistry. So I had my fill of toxins. And by the time I wanted to have a family, I couldn't have a family. I was miscarrying and having problems with fertility. So no wonder, right? But I did have a couple of children, and they also had their challenges. One, my daughter was challenged with having to use an inhaler all the time. My son was challenged with what his teachers called couldn't settle down, whatever the name was for that. So miraculously, we are given what we need. And in this case, Yeah, I won't go through the whole story, but zeolite came our way, Rick's zeolite, a conversation with Marcy, of course. And we decided we needed this in our family for prevention. Both my husband and I lost parents to cancer. We thought, well, if if anything, this will help us be healthier. So we're going to use it. And about 6 months after we started, and by the way, that was May of 2006, we're coming up on an anniversary for our involvement with using Rick's product. Our dog, our yellow lab, was, well, she collapsed. She collapsed. She was 12 and a half years old. She collapsed. Her spleen ruptured, and she was diagnosed with hemangiosarcoma, which is a blood cancer. She was already diabetic, had been diabetic for 6 years. And we had been giving her drops of zeolite. We were not so consistent. We didn't know what we had our hands on. And anybody who is starting out using these products, you probably don't know what you have your hands on. And you might be saying, oh, I'll try it, right? But I'm telling you now, you have your hands on something pretty miraculous, pretty amazing. And we were giving our ginger drops kind of every day, maybe a couple times a day. And we believe that by giving those drops to her, even inconsistently over the period of 6 months, helped her manage to go through that surgery that most dogs wouldn't survive. They wouldn't survive the diagnosis she had, or the prognosis. Even the doctors are saying she had 16 to 60 days, and we got to keep her. We got to keep her till she was 14. There were no abnormal growths going on, no stiffness in her joints. X-rays confirmed that she was really clean and healthy. And, we just, we're very thankful for that. That's our leading story. And Ginger is the one who really got me involved with understanding what we had our hands on. So all of that toxicity that I had built up over years of being a biology teacher, living overseas, maybe not understanding the impact that pesticides had. I remember smelling them when we lived in our apartment in Korea. They would regularly spray massive amounts of pesticides. We had cockroaches everywhere. They were trying to get ahead of cockroaches. Well, we closed our windows, but we still got it. So I'm very happy to say that I am a thriver. A lot of people say survivor. I'm a thriver. And it's just delightful for me to see that we can have that message to share with everybody who comes our way. Now, to what Robben was referring to, the one tidbit of information that she's talking about is, I remember when we first started using the zeolite, in my biological way of thinking, when you take these drops, where is it after 1 hour? Where is it after 2 hours? What's it doing in the body? That's the way my mind was working. I wanted to know what it was doing for me and where it was, because we were told that it stays in the body for a few hours and then it's gone. So where is it? Well, I did a little search the other day. I never bothered to think about this before, but I have a friend who is trying to save her life with this product. And she thought it was circulating in the blood for those hours. And I said, no, it's in the body, but it's not circulating. So I looked it up. How long does it take for the blood to circulate one time around, from heart to all over the body, back to heart? Any guesses? Less than a minute. Some resources say 45 seconds. Some resources say 20 seconds, so it can go around 3 times in a minute. And then it's done. Where is it sitting? It's sitting in the bladder. And we know this because we know when Rick did his study with the coal miners study, the urine from the bladder was tested, and that's where all the heavy metals were being dumped. That's how we know that the zeolite is circulating in the blood and going everywhere the blood goes, and it's fast. So as fast as our shipping is now, right? Same day shipping. I'm so happy about that because most of the people I talk to are in crisis or their dog is in crisis. When do they need this? Yesterday. So now we have faster shipping, and we know that if we take these drops, then as soon as you take them, they've already done their work in a very, very short amount of time. So how often should you take them? Wow. How often do you need to take them? What's your level of crisis is really the concern here. So we have affectionately called the dosing that Marcy did, the Marcy dose, right? Every hour, 5 drops every hour, some, maybe a few more drops if you need that, but every hour. And yet I remember in some of my very early conversations with Marcy, one where she was trying to save or help save a Great Pyrenees dog. Every 15 minutes, that dog was getting drops. Every 15 minutes. Was it too much? No, because if you understand biology and how fast the blood circulates, you'll want to take it more often. Robin, did I cover it for you?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm just wondering if that brought any questions up, if you want to hang in there with me.
Sure.
See if we can answer or whatever. Is there anybody had a question that kind of came up with what was shared? You're welcome to ask or input. You have something to kind of come alongside that.
It seems like I've heard Rick say that the body can only accommodate about 15 drops an hour. I'm not sure if I remember that right or not. And that's why they say that to take 10 drops at a time. Do I have that wrong?
I believe that you're right on the quantity of 15 drops, but may have misheard on the time amount. 15 drops at a time, whatever that time is.
We've proven that, Rich, with, like she said, with the Pyrenees dog. By the way, this dog was dying, had been to the vet already, had gone through had bad cells, big, huge. Actually, it was huge in its neck, and was just absolutely huge. It got bigger and bigger, and the vets had no hope for it. So these people called Marcy and Chip, and she said, bring him over. And she stayed up with him all night long and gave him every 15 minutes. And the next morning, the dog went out and pooped and ate, which had not been doing, and came alive again. And over the months, ended up no issue at all. Now, I did this. I suggested this myself with a friend who had also bad cells in her body. She was 18 years old. And her mom and aunt were in the hospital with her. They did not believe in blood transfusions. And so the doctors here locally wouldn't treat her anymore. So they found some doctors down south to treat her, but she was really, again, not eating, not, having bowel movements or anything like that, just really in bed and dying. And so the aunt knew about the zeolite, brought the zeolite. And also at that time we had mushroom, and it was liquid at that time. And they were also giving her 15 drops of each every 15 minutes to a half hour. Overnight, she changed. She woke up, had breakfast, had a bowel movement. Oh my goodness, guys, see how important that is? Get the junk out of you. And she got better to they were able to transport her from Fresno down to LA area, and the hospital there took her in, but said they would treat her, but she was too ill to treat her. They gave her a week. Then she got better because her mom was still giving her the drops every half hour. And so at the end of the week, they decided to do the chemical treatment, and the first one almost killed her. So they stopped. So her mom kept giving her the drops. She was out of the hospital in 2 weeks, and she got a clean bill of health within about a month or two. I'm going to say 2 just because I can't remember exactly, but she came to our event in Fresno and blew everybody's mind. Beautiful young girl. And so my brother was in the hospital dying, and I just told my sister-in-law, I said, hey, you can't hurt him. You know, he could drink a whole bottle and he wouldn't even have diarrhea. There's no side effects to this. This is the beautiful thing with the zeolite. And now we know the silver, same thing. No side effects. You know, you can't hurt yourself because of the way they're created, because of the mechanisms, the small particles, the way they work with the body. And so my brother was diabetic, needed a kidney transplant, was waiting for a kidney, and had really no hope. And so his wife started giving him 15 drops. We went to 15 drops just to make sure we got as much as we could every 15 minutes. And again, my brother rallied, and he ended up my sister-in-law, his wife was a match. She gave him a kidney. Because you cannot detect zeolite in the body, it's not a nutritional, it's not anything like that. And so it doesn't show up when they do blood or whatever. So, you know, when you do a transplant, you have to be very, very careful because they say if you take nutrition or you take anything we tell you not to, you cannot have the transplant. And they'll just take your blood and see what you're doing. Well, we knew it couldn't show up, and we knew it was going to take a cleaner, better body to the doctor. You know, that's a big deal, guys. That's part of the prevention. And that's really the real majority of us who are well, is we want a better, cleaner body so that we can handle things that we're going to come up against. And so his wife and he both took it right before the transplant, all the way up to the operation. As soon as they got into the recovery room where they could do it themselves, they had hid the bottle somewhere. I can't remember where, but anyway, they were able to start taking them again. And my brother did so well. It was amazing. My sister-in-law, neither one of them had any infection. They came right through the surgery, and my brother lived another several years. Actually, the doctor said, you got twice as long out of this kidney than I would have said you would have. But unfortunately, my brother was not like me, and he didn't stay on the products in between the crises, and he'd had a long life of maybe not taking care of his body like he should have. And we did lose him a few years ago, but I tell you, we had probably 12 years of quality life with my brother that we would not have had. And his family will attest to that. And that's the family that has the autistic grandkids. My brother's grandkids are the autistic kids that totally changed their life. So we've had blessing after blessing after blessing. But sorry, didn't mean to get off and be on my soapbox, but I'm thrilled, guys. I'm just so thrilled to be able to share these products with everybody. Rich, did that help you out a little bit?
Yes, it did. Now on the Marcy dose, I think I heard Rosemary say that that's 5 drops every hour. I've heard it also as 10 drops. Obviously that could vary, but the 5 drops is that what Marcy used, or what exactly did she do?
Well, if I may answer that, because I just spent a lot of time on the phone with Marcy the other day, going over this with my friend who is in trouble. Originally, Rick's product, back when we first had it, was fantastic. And the dose Marcy chose to do was 10 drops every hour. And yet this recent call that I had with her said, it's so much better now. Rick's product is the best it can possibly be. Even Rick himself says he can't make it any better. It's as small as it can be. It's as clean as it can be. And 5 drops every hour is a Marcy dose now.
Awesome. And that's news to me. So that's incredible. But also we have the droppers are bigger too, right, Rosemary? I mean, back when she was using it, we had the little plastic bottles.
That's true. That
You
is
know.
true. It is a different, it could be a different size drop, but also the effectiveness. Yes, a glass dropper is different than a little plastic bottle drop. Yes, you're right.
So one of the reasons I'm asking is I have the same challenge that Dave Johnson had, okay? And I'm right in the middle of that. And so I'm very, very interested in learning as much about this as I can. So
I would say, Rich, I would say frequency based on what you're hearing today. If you would like to have perhaps even more of that rally feeling like we see in all our animals as well, and that's what I wanted to add. I'll come back to that. If you want to get after this, maybe a little faster, maybe more frequent.
thanks.
Yeah. And what I wanted to say, Robin, about the animals, you mentioned your brother rallying. People in the hospital rally. And that's what I see with animals. When we first get animals who are in trouble on these drops, they rally. Why? There's no placebo effect. They don't stop to think, gee, is it working? Am I feeling better? No, they just do. Skittles ran up the stairs and jumped on the bed. She hasn't done that in months. That's the kind of stuff I hear. Rocky ate a steak. He's got his appetite back. Well, I would too if I had a steak, probably. But you know, when a dog is not eating, they might be thinking of checking out. And so if they can feel a little better, if they can feel like they can be in their body, same with a person, if you can feel like you can be in your body, then you'll have an appetite, you'll have a little bit more energy. And so that kind of rallying we see all the time.
Yeah. Awesome. Very awesome, Rosemary. Thank you. And hang in there for more questions. I do want to say, guys, just, we do need to say that we're not making any medical claims. And we're not saying that we win all the battles, because everyone does have their own journey. Every one of our animals has their own journey. We don't always win 100%, right? But when you look at the results that we have had through the years, and I'm talking about the zeolite, I'm very excited about the silver and what we're seeing already. And I'm going to have Georgia come in and share she and Darren's testimony too, for those that have not heard, but we need to keep hearing it so we can share it. But the results, the percentage of results that we get is so much higher than you can get anywhere else. I mean, when you look at the medical field and what they have to give you, say, Rich, for what you're going through, you're going to get some damage from the chemicals that they're going to do, or cutting or whatever. And, just the difference here in results and what you don't have to go through. If you choose whatever you choose, it's amazing. I mean, the difference is astounding in percentages of who gets to have a life that was saved that didn't have a chance. But the other beautiful thing is that you can take these drops, the silver, the mushroom, our mushroom product, our Immunity, our Niloxin. You can take all these products with all the medications you're using. You can choose to do both. Go in partners with your doctor and take a better body to your doctor. And I want to speak to Rosemary's, what she was saying about the rallying. Just lately, guys, we have someone in Georgia, get ready, sorry. Just lately, I wanted to share this testimony. They'll be on to share eventually, but they've given me their permission to share. Really good friends of ours in Washington. He has the same issue. No, excuse me. I'm sorry, that's someone else, Rich. This had, Dan has the bladder issue, bad cells in the bladder. He's been going through this for a year. Somehow we didn't communicate until just the last few months. But he's gone through some procedures. There's scar tissue down low in the bladder, and actually when he got a new doctor and she went to do one more procedure, there's a scab over that area where they've done 3 surgeries already. But anyway, he was able to get on the drops and the zeolite and the mushroom. And the last, I think it's been about 2 months. and it hasn't been quite that long, but he just went in for another procedure. Here's what's interesting about his body. What's happened is she got in, she used her laser to get rid of any other cells that she saw. And she said, I've gotten rid of everything I could see. There might be something under the scab down there in the, where they did the other surgeries. So I'm a little concerned about that. But when he was recovering in the hospital, the nurses, his doctors that all came in, looked at the catheter bag, the urine bag, and were blown away that it was clear. No milkiness, no issues at all within that. They were blown away to say, we never, ever see this. And that right there just tells you he took a cleaner body to his doctor so that his outcome was so much, much better. I have one more that I wanted to share today before we go to Georgia. I have a friend who said I was able to share this too. She can't be on. She runs a business. She's very, very, very busy. And she has had an esophagus problem. And you may know someone, or you yourself may have. I know we have several people on here with those, but she had an esophagus problem since she was a little girl. They didn't quite know what was wrong. The doctors said it was all in her head. Later in life, realized it was not. And she had a bad esophagus and she had trouble swallowing. Well, and she wanted me to let people know, about 2 years ago, she had Botox. And one of the side effects can be that it shuts off your throat. And she was not able to eat any solid food for a year. She is a beautiful gal, amazing. She has an incredible bed and bath, huge business back east. And she ended up, her mom said looked like she was anorexic. She said I would go shopping with her over that year, and she lost so much weight. She said I wanted to put a sign on the front and back of her. She's not anorexic, she just can't eat. She said it was just awful. And her mom was there for heart surgery, and she'd been taking the zeolite ahead of time. So her daughter was the one that's having the problems, was taking care of her mom. And her mom said, listen, I don't know if these drops will work for you, but just try them. Try 10, 15 drops. So she took a dropper full, and overnight she could tell a difference. Within the week, she started eating. She had an apple. She was ecstatic. She called, and they called me and talked to me about it. But that has been about a year ago, and she eats anything she wants. She says that, can you imagine going out with your family and sitting down for a meal and you can't eat? And she says, now I can eat anything I want. She says, and I have tested it, accidentally gotten too busy and not taken my zeolite, and I'll start having the issue with my throat. And so somehow, guys, I don't know all the science behind it. Chip can, approach that when we get back. But I want to encourage you to tell people who have esophagus issues, because we've had other people in our group too that have relief with it. But she's dramatic, night and day, knows exactly what it's doing. So anyway, just hope that helps you. Yes, Rosemary.
Oh, I resonate with everything you're saying. I also had throat closing problems, and I don't anymore. So you can grow out of it. You can grow back into your healthy self. Can I say something about immunity?
Please.
We have some time? Okay.
Yep.
So my little Bridie here has an immune system challenge. I've never had a dog this sensitive before. And we got to the point where she had mites who were coming out around her eyes. It's called Demodex, mange. And when the immune system is challenged, the mites become active. And I've seen this with fleas as well, not on my dog, but other dogs who are immune system challenged, who have a dis-ease. They are more attacked by fleas. So don't go for the poison, go for the immune support. Because when when the person is stronger, healthier, they won't have that problem. So at the vet, we're dealing with the eye issue, antibiotics, whatever. I'm listening to her, but her solution is, let's poison your dog once a month so that we can kill the mites. I said, no, thank you. And now she's getting 2 Z-Immunity twice a day. So she's at 4. That's not the dose on the bottle, that's double. Anybody going through an immune system challenge, you may want to consider increasing your dose, because immunity is food. Mushrooms are food. And if you were living in the rainforests where medicinal mushrooms grow, you would be eating them every day anyway. You'll be eating food. So don't be afraid to use more if you have an immune system challenge. I believe we're getting ahead of this, and we won't have those mites become active. By the way, silver around the eyes also really helped her get through some challenges that she had. Yeah.
Very cool.
We
Thank
love
you,
these
Rosemary.
products. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's been amazing. And Georgia, we have time because we started late on our recording. So we have time for you. Sorry, Rosemary and I had lots to share today, but oh my goodness, we don't want to leave you out. Please share you and Darren, if you want, your stories.
Okay, well, actually, I'll start with me, and Rosemary provided a very good segue for me. So I was coming up on 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with a rare form of psoriasis. It's called palmoplantar pustulosis, and it appears on individuals' feet and the palms of their hands and the soles of their feet. And it is characterized by, first of all, the skin cells grow faster than they should. So there is a thick silvery skin issues, but then there are sterile blister-like pustules, and it's just disgusting. And so over the course of the 4 years, I've been to a dermatologist. She gave me steroid creams. I was taking Talks, which is an injectable. Worked for a minute and then nothing. I've tried every lotion, every cream. I've tried essential oils. I've tried soaking my feet and using a pumice stone, everything that I could think of. And Chip really likes the term angry feet. In my case, it is actually not the worst that I've seen. I belong to a couple of different groups on Facebook for people with this. And so if you compare mine to theirs, mine really isn't that bad. But anyway, it's to the point where they itch, they burn, it hurts to walk. I've been walking around in flip-flops or slippers for the last several years. I have little canvas tennis shoes that I used to wear to work with when I was working in the office with my suits, because I couldn't wear anything else. So Darren and I have been both using the products for going on a month. And he came out of a meeting, it'll be 3 weeks ago tomorrow. He came out of a Zoom with somebody and said, you need to spray the Nano Silver on your feet. I'm like, okay. And we've been doing the immunity capsules and the Cell Defender. And so that day I started spraying the silver on my feet. And I'm going to share this picture, and I'm going to do a disclaimer that it's pretty gross. So if you have I mean, it's not terrible, but hold on one second. Let me get to it. Let's see. There it is. So this is the difference after 2 weeks. And you can see that it's still not, can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
So you can see where all of the dry skin and all of that, that's where I've had either the thick skin cells scraping off, shedding. You can see on the side of my foot, that's where I primarily get the pustules on the side of my foot underneath my ankle, but that's after only using the Nano Silver for 2 weeks. Now I'm going to take this off because it's ugly. But probably the best part is that it was the Sunday after I took that picture, and I got to wear cute shoes to church. It was the first time in several years that I've been able to wear anything besides just something that's comfortable. I was actually, and Robin, I was talking about this earlier. You know how sometimes things become a habit. and rubbing my feet or scratching my feet has become a habit for me. I do the silver. I did it. I want to answer Beth's question. I did it like 3 or 4 times a day the first week, just walking by, and now I just do it twice a day, once in the morning and once at night, and rub it in.
How many sprays? How many sprays do you think?
5 or so. I mean, but I pretty much saturate my whole foot and let it dry. But over the weekend, and it's a habit, and I was a little stressed out because, my husband was going away, and I started itching my foot, and it's a habit, and I know that. And I actually gave myself an open wound where those pustules had been. And I noticed it last night. Didn't think much about it because that's normal, my old normal. And I woke up this morning and I sprayed the Nano Silver on that spot, and it is healed. It's completely healed now. So I'm a big believer, and I think that the Nano Silver with this immunity, with the Cell Defender, all of those products working together has made a huge difference. For Darren and I both, since we moved to Texas last year, we've had terrible problems with our allergies. We have both stopped taking our allergy meds. Don't need them anymore.
Cool.
And then for those of you who don't know, I've never told Darren's story. So Darren, my husband, was a victim of a bully when he was 14 years old. And he broke his hip at 14. And at the time when he broke his hip, he was 5'6". My husband is now 6'10". So not only was he very young when this happened, over time, over those first few years, he grew a lot. He has had 8 total hip operations. He has had 3, but he's on his 3rd artificial hip. And for a time, because they couldn't replace the hip he broke right away, he was without a hip on that side for, I think, 17 years. He'll yell at me later and say, "You know better." No, he won't.
That was it. I remember. That was perfect.
And so imagine walking when you're 6'10", and he's not like a 6'10" tall and skinny guy. He is a big man. So imagine, 6'10", 280 pounds, walking for 17 years without a hip on one side. Well, of course, there's going to be a limp, which causes back problems. So he has lived with chronic pain for 34 years. And we've tried everything. I mean, we've done acupuncture, we've done massage therapists, we've done chiropractic care. We've tried every pain cream. We've tried, he went to a spine specialist, and the only thing they could say is surgery, which is not something he wanted to do. So when we got the naloxone, and we were new, we didn't know. I mean, we hadn't even been involved with Avini for a week yet. So we get it, and so he's like, "Well, spray that on my back." I'm like, "Okay." So I spray the spots on his lower back, and he takes a couple of shots in his mouth. We go and watch TV. Now, again, everything that we've tried over the years gives temporary pain relief. It might be like the acupuncture, he'll feel great right after the appointment. Within 2 days, it's back to the way it was. Walking is painful. Sitting is painful. Everything is painful. We did the naloxone the first night, sat down to watch our show, and each episode's about 45 minutes because we stream it so we don't have to watch commercials. And after the show, we got up from the couch, and he stopped and he just looked at me, and I'm like, "What's the matter?" He said, "I don't hurt." Literally 45 minutes, and he was pain-free, and he has been pain-free now for 3 weeks, over 3 weeks. Over the weekend, we ran out of the naloxone, and I was dumb. I ordered it on a Friday, so I didn't, with the weekend. Anyway, we ran out, but the next day it arrived. But so he went about 24 hours without having it, and his pain was nowhere near what it had been in the past, but the pain was starting to creep back a little bit. He walks better, he stands taller, he feels better. And, you know, the thing is that he's just, you know, when you're in pain, you're miserable. And there's a light in his eyes, and he is so happy and so excited. And, you know, thinking about all the things that we always wanted to do, but kind of shied away from, you know, going on a walking tour, you know, in some of the Texas towns down here, and, you know, seeing a lot of things, because we never knew if his body could tolerate it. And so things are really, really good in our house right now. And it has to do with Avini. So.
And now, how did he do on his plane flight? How long of a plane flight and all that?
Well, he left San Antonio, I think, like at 11:45, and he had a little bit of a layover in Atlanta, landed, I think, I don't know, I want to say 4 o'clock, but I asked him how his flight was, and he said it was fine.
Wow.
And remember, he's 6'10" and about 280-ish. So he's a big man. But he said he was fine.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, that right there, just after 3 weeks of having, I mean, you think even, you know, in 3 weeks still, if you get on a plane and you have to sit that long, cramped up and all that, you're still going to have some problems, but that's amazing. I mean, and I want to say right here now, we don't always get results just like Darren and just like Georgia, but isn't it amazing that we get those results so it does encourage the rest of us to go out and tell people and say, listen, you may not get the same short-term results, but know that the science is there and that's why it works. So just keep on, stay committed. Don't forget to take them. Don't forget to spray it on. You know, that consistency is very important, as Rosemary was saying earlier too. And you also, wow, what amazing testimonies we have had this whole call. What an incredible call. We ran out of time for the recording. Is there anybody just really has a question that needs to be asked of Georgia or Rosemary or something that came up? Good. Yeah, Hannah.
Just quickly, the mushrooms in the zeolite, Zimmunity. Okay. How do you put that into your protocol that you're working with the zeolite? You know, if you're really doing 5 drops every hour, if you're on a really strict regimen for you know, working on something, how much should you up the Zimmunity to complement everything that you're working with?
It's important to remember that the drops you are taking, the liquid cell defender, as soon as it hits your soft tissue in your mouth, it's entering the bloodstream. So directly into the blood, whereas the capsules from Zimmunity, you're swallowing that. It's going into your digestive system. So even though the zeolite is the same, it has a different mechanism in approaching the body. One directly into the blood, one is going to hang around for a little while in the digestive system. So for some people who have a problem, a concern in their digestive system, I recommend taking the Zimmunity for the delivery that it offers. And take both. You're not going to overdose on this stuff.
And when we used to have the other mushroom that Howard had talked about before, that used to have Rick's, that Rick developed, but it's been years ago with another company, and Rick saying this is so much more powerful. When we had that, the Marcy dose was 12 to 18 capsules a day. You don't have to do that with this product because it's so much stronger. So I do actually have someone, you know, that is fighting an issue with the bladder, the cells in the bladder, who is actually doing that, which it can't hurt you. It's whole food, like Rosemary said. But then I talked to him and I said, you know, now we're learning so much more about this. You probably don't have to take quite as much. So that's, you know, Rosemary's doing, you know, 2 capsules twice a day with an animal that has a low immune system, is getting attacked. You know, personally, it's kind of one of those things you can, you can do yourself, decide what you want to do, but I'd say definitely take it, and maybe 6, maybe 8 a day if you're in a crisis and have a death sentence. I'm just saying you could do 16 a day, you could do 12 a day. And the good thing with the mushroom is, I know what Marcy used to do is she and Chip would do shakes for her, and he would open the capsule up and he'd put 6 of them in there at a time. It's okay to do that. If you don't want to do it several times a day, take 6 in the morning, 6 at night. I mean, that's, or take 4 in the morning, or take 2, 3 times or 4 times a day. It's, again, like she says, it's whole food. And what it does is amazing. Now, I want to encourage everybody that you can go on the website and you can see exactly the science on these products. We don't have to have Chip on the call. It's always fun to have him here to tell us, but go to the site and read about it. Like Rick just said, he has a white paper on the Zimmunity. So go on there, check it out. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to repeat. You don't have to know exactly what the science is about them or the mechanisms. Send your people to the site. That's the beauty. We're going to have short videos about each product. We're going to have, great, they're going to do an amazing job for us so we can get these products out to people. And we don't have to be the scientists. We just need to get the information out. So
can I add one thing about dosing with Zimmunity? Yeah, because you touched on some really important things, Robben. What I have found over the years is that, especially with animals who are not used to whole foods, raw foods, those kinds of things, they're so challenged, they're ready to fall off the cliff. Sometimes it's a good idea to start out small, and only for a day or 2, maybe half a capsule, even small amount. But after that, go full bore. Don't mess around, because the first days that you're in crisis are really more important than the last days, right? And I think this is a quote from Chip. Your first days of being in some sort of conflict and health challenge, you want to get after things aggressively. So I would absolutely go with something like 16, 18 capsules a day spread out so that you can use it, your body will use it. It is food. And then if you want to cut back a little bit later, okay, you can relax a little bit, but go full bore. It's not going to hurt you. If you're in crisis, don't mess around.
Yep, I agree with that. That's
Okay.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, Howard, let's go ahead and close off our recording. We'll get this out to everybody. Thank you, Howard, so much for all you do.